On the line with us is Candice Bernd. She is a reporter and editor at Truthout.org, truthout.org, the website. Her website, Candice Bernd, B-E-R-N-D, or at Truthout. Candice, welcome to the program.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me back. You
wrote a great piece. The tribal camp in South Texas is vowing to resist Trump's wall. Tell us about this. This is a remarkable story about taking the whole Trump's, re-election campaign, we're going to build a wall, keep the brown people out, taking all of that out of the 30,000-foot abstract notion and bringing it right down to the ground at the border in Texas. Tell us the story.
Right, Tom. Yeah, I just got back from the border last weekend, and I think when we think about the border fence, the border wall, and we think about it keeping brown people out, some brown people we don't think about are indigenous people, and that's sort of what my piece centers a Aboriginal tribe to Texas. They are called the Carrizo Comecrudo people. Carrizo, as the Spanish word for reed, Comecrudo means eat raw. Spanish missionaries sort of misnamed them, decades ago when they first observed some of their practices. They observed the practices of them eating fish jerky and named them Comecrudo, sort of based on that. This tribe has set up a camp right along the border wall at a very historic cemetery called the Eli Jackson Cemetery. It's 154 years old, and it has a really stunning legacy. And what this tribe is saying is that many of their ancestors are laid to rest in the cemetery, albeit under anglicized names, as many folks had to anglicize themselves in the 1800s to sort of survive the colonization that is really still shaping a lot of South Texas. And so this tribe has set up this camp. They are working on setting up satellite camps right now. Many folks have heard of the National Butterfly Center in Mission. They're working on setting up a camp there, as long as another camp along the banks of the Rio Grande. And what they're doing, I think, is really powerful.
Yeah. So bottom line here, if Trump gets his wall, it's going to run right through the middle of their community and their cemetery. Do I have that right?
Right. Well, so basically, it's a little complicated because there are actually two sites that I visited, and they're pretty close together. They're less than a quarter mile apart. But Eli Jackson is less than a quarter away from the Jackson Ranch Chapel and its separate cemetery. And so both sites are related to the same history. And essentially, the family that runs the chapel, Jackson Ranch Chapel and Cemetery, they met with CBP agents last week who told them that Eli Jackson Cemetery, where the tribe is currently camped, isn't going to be touched for at least 6 months. And they claim that no bodies are going to be exhumed there. So, I've talked to the tribal chairman. He is very skeptical about CBP's claim, and he says they at least are going to stay in camp there for another month. Just because, why do they have any reason to sort of believe what CBP says at this point? Right. That cemetery, Eli Jackson, is very, very close to the levee on which the Trump administration wants to build the new segment of border fence that's going in. It's only yards from this levee. So it seems hard to imagine that it wouldn't be affected in some way, shape, or form, maybe not for 6 months, but probably certainly after that.
Doesn't this tribe also have members on both sides of the border?
Well, it's Aboriginal to both sides of the border. They were a nomadic culture, and they set up villages and sites all along the Rio Grande on both sides. Again, the river was never meant to be a border. As the tribe puts it, it's meant to facilitate contact. They looked at it like a road. It facilitated contact and travel for many Native people.
And food. They fished and things like that.
Right, yeah. And they have burial sites all along the Rio Grande River.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they're Aboriginal to it for centuries, and they're trying to sort of emphasize that fact.
Are there any specific rights associated with that they might be able to use to fight the wall going through here?
Right. Well, this is the hard part that I've reported in the story, is just that they are not federally recognized or recognized by the state, for that matter. The state and the federal government has recognized other tribes that are not necessarily Aboriginal, but were displaced because of forced relocation and basically state-sponsored extermination campaigns that, tribes coming in from, like, Alabama, for instance, that had to relocate here. They're recognized, but the Carrizo Comecrudo are not. And because they're not, they don't get protections under federal laws that would, otherwise protect native cultural sites.
Are they asking us to do anything, or is this more just, FYI, here's another horror story associated with Donald Trump's, weird racist wall?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're calling for supporters. It's not just the Native folks that are camped there at this point. Mm-hmm. They have environmental sort of activist allies that are with them, that are helping them set up, the additional camps that they're working with. Obviously, they're allied with the folks at the National Butterfly Center who are okay with letting them camp.
Are they asking people to go there, or is there a website? I mean, for people who might be listening or watching the program right now who want to support these folks, in their struggle against the wall, what can they do?
Yeah.
What can we do?
You can find them on Facebook. They are definitely putting updates on their Facebook page.
How would you do that?
Just search for Carrizo Comecrudo.
Can you spell it?
Yes, it's CARRIZOCOMECRUDO.
Wow, that's going to be a tough one for a lot of people to remember who might be driving down the street right now listening to us.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Is there another search term that might be easier to find? Indigenous people on the border or something like that? Or I suppose that.
Yeah, I'm sure with enough Googling, you can find them. In fact, actually, they have a GoFundMe, and I linked to the GoFundMe in my story.
Oh, well, that's easy. So you go to truthout.org and look for Candice Bernd, Bernd's article, "A Tribal Camp in South Texas is Vowing to Resist Trump's Wall."